Okay, so we welcome back all our participants in the public presentations on co-production, co-ownership, and co-benefit practices in social development. The presentations showcase the capstone projects of the first batch of graduate students of the Master in Transdisciplinary and Social Development Program of the Ateneo de Manila University. This morning, we already watched the fascinating presentations under the clusters, the human rights, peace, settlement, and violent extremism, and the community-based tourism cluster. Now, for our third and last set of presenters, we have three groups that will share with us their co-produced and co-implemented projects with the civil society partners and grassroots communities. The first presentation is about expanding opportunities for young farmers in the local agro-food system in Camarines Sur, Philippines. And the presentation will be given by Toru Aray, Tran Ngok, Toshiki Sakiyama, Lorenzo Espacio, and their academic supervisor is Dr. Liza Lim. For the second presentation, we have the impacts of the Women Economic Empowerment Project by a local NGO in Kampong Thom Province, Cambodia. And it will be presented by Moni Van Nin, Mayuma Kajino, and Shohei Hasegawa under the guidance of Dr. Ana Marie Caraos. The last but not the least presentation is about inspiring the next Kongthanu food security and youth leadership capacity. And the presentation will be delivered by Wijayamuni Kiyomi Filosha de Soisa, Maria Shina Elaine de los Reyes, Wataru Yamasaki, Nawit Onvichit, and Linda Thana Quetzalcoatl. And their academic supervisor is Dr. Sarima Saloma Akpe Donu. Right after the three presentations, there will be an interaction with our invited panelists. Our first panelist is Maria Glenda Lopez-Hui, who is an assistant professor at the Department of Sociology and Anthropology of the Ateneo de Manila University. She has published research on social movements, migrant labor, the resilience of low-achieving students, and literacy for diverse learners. She is currently completing publications on the civic engagement of culturally diverse youth. Our second panelist is Ms. Marlene D. Ramirez, who is the Secretary General of the Asian Partnership for the Development of Human Resources in Rural Areas. She began working for rural development and poverty eradication in the Philippines with FIDRA in 1987 and was Executive Director from 1993 to 1998. Both at national and regional levels, her expertise covers civil society network development and management, program development and implementation, resource building and mobilization, strategic partnerships, and policy advocacy. She finished her Master in Public Management at the Ateneo School of Government of the Ateneo de Manila University. Our panelists will be providing the students inputs in improving their manuscript organization and substance, as well as in enriching project impact and sustainability. So now we turn you over to our first set of presenters.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Melis Navarra, and thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar. So we would like to present our Capstone project. It's about expanding opportunities for young farmers in the local agro-food system in Camarines Sur, Philippines. And this is our project team. So it consists of 4 AP students, Lance Espacio project manager, Toshiki Sakiyama, Toru Arai, myself, and Noctram. We also want to introduce team members from our partner organizations. Those are Gian Bello, Ryan Corneras, Mel Alamo. And we would like to give appreciation to them for putting many efforts into the coordination on the ground and also co-creating the workshop program with us. And finally, we would like to say thank you to our project supervisor, Dr. Lisa Lim, for giving us practical advice on this project. So this is the outline of our presentation. We will firstly introduce our project overview, and then we will go to the knowledge framework, and then we will explain the project result and learning, and finally we will proceed to the conclusion. So let me start with the project background and proposition. Through the desk research and discussion with young farmers, we found that rural youth are moving away from agriculture in the Philippines. However, some scholars insisted that if there are opportunities, youth are willing to stay in farming. And social enterprise can be a way to expand the opportunity space of young farmers. Based on this proposition, our project intervention was developed to provide opportunities for young farmers from agri-cooperatives to engage in social entrepreneurship. And there were two activities that we prepared. First one is capacity building program about social entrepreneurship. And second one is sharing training materials with partner organizations. The location of our Capstone project was in the Lipmanang in Camarines Sur in Bicol region in the Philippines. And this is our partner organizations. So as primary partners, we have two agro-cooperatives as a direct beneficiary of the workshop program that are Golden Parama Agriculture Cooperative, GPAC, and Pamplona Esperanza Riverside Agriculture Cooperative, PERAC. Also, we have National Confederation of Farmers Organizations, Pakisama, which did coordination work between APS students and agro-cooperatives. As a secondary partner, we would like to mention Asian Farmers Association, AFAR. One of the members did advice to the workshop participants during our workshop program. So we formulated the project together with GPAC and PERAC, and based on the co-production and co-generation principle. So we did several activities to develop our project together. You can see the main activities here. And this is the theory of change we developed with our partners. So we set a goal, expected impact of enhanced capacities of young farmers and a young farmer-led organization. And we developed outcomes and outputs, as you can see here. And now I would like to introduce a workshop modules that we designed for our activity. So it consists of 4 modules. First, business concept. Second, situation analysis. Third, development of business plan. And fourth, pitching a business idea. So through this project, workshop participants were expected to understand the business concept and social enterprise, and also develop and present their own business plan. Next, Lance will introduce knowledge framework.
Thank you, Toru. So for the knowledge framework, I'd like to first set the context wherein we try to address what problem we're trying to address in this project in view of the related literature we're looking at. So among international development institutions such as FAO, IFAD, and also development banks such as the World Bank, and even within the United Nations system, we've seen an increased preoccupation with what they term as the young farmer problem in agriculture. What they mean by this is that it has been observed as in terms of a demographic trend that across the world and in many countries, farmers are aging. And this is a known and observable demographic trend. And this has led to, again, an increased preoccupation among these institutions in recent years, and had led to questions about the generational sustainability of family farming, wherein there is, in many ways, in part also a lack of farmers to actually sustain family farming and the food system. So this has been an increased worry among these institutions. So we see these reflected in the strategies of the institutions I mentioned by promoting youth participation in decision-making, supporting capacity building. And what we'd like to focus in terms of the literature here is with regard to entrepreneurship as a development strategy, because young people are now seen as actors that can bring about innovation, so-called innovation, and so-called opportunities as well, expand the opportunities through entrepreneurship in rural areas. So it's important to take a critical look at this, and this is what we're looking at in the literature. And it's also important at this point to set a definition of what we refer to as young people or youth in this context. We take a standard definition defined by the age bracket. That is the simple definition we're looking at. And we adopt the definition adopted by our partner Pakisama, that is youth aged 15 to 35. When we look at the literature furthermore, and this is reflected in our manuscript, we looked at opportunities, no? In terms of the opportunities available to young people and the structure that defines such opportunities in agriculture and in rural areas. Next slide, please. And in relation to that point, we'd like to discuss really the main conceptual framework that we're adopting in this project, and in terms of the more theoretical part of our discussion. So here we adopt the framework of so-called opportunity space, developed theoretically in the context of trying to understand the space that young people find themselves in, and the space where there are opportunities for young people to establish their own independent life from their own from their families. So this said space is defined by several factors. Here in this framework, we see that these factors include spatial, social, and relational factors that in many ways expand or restrict the opportunities available to young people, again, for them to establish their own independent lives. So, and linking this, next slide, please, to our strategy that we're trying to assess, which is social entrepreneurship. We're looking at social entrepreneurship in the sense of it as a development strategy, no? In terms of it as an intervention, trying to, in principle, at least expand the opportunities available to young people. And what we mean by social entrepreneurship in this context, and of course, the social entrepreneurship means many things, but at the end, it means we take this particular definition where social entrepreneurship is a type of business where it marries different goals apart from profit. That includes social and environmental goals in trying to reconcile said goals in order to make a profit while meeting such impacts, such goals, more social and environmental, right? So much literature has been discussing this in terms of the triple bottom line and so forth. But what we would like to stress in this discussion is the difference between value creation and value capture. What do we mean by this? When we look at value creation in the context of business, this is looking at the aggregate value that is created as a result of a particular business or intervention. Whereas value capture is simply getting the value of a particular a portion of a value and accounting for the opportunity costs of the resources they mobilized. So two perspectives here. Value creation is looking at the entire value created in a particular setting, whereas value capture is just getting a particular portion of the value, and in many ways it's really about profit. So when we discuss social entrepreneurship, we're looking at value creation rather than value capture. In other words, also looking at the social and environmental aspects of doing business, especially in the context of agriculture and in rural areas. So I turn over the floor to Mok to discuss the project results. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Next slide. The project overview.
Sorry, you're not showing the slide.
Is the slide changing? I see it's not change?
I think Toru dropped out. I can share it.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a second. Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Lance.
Mhm.
So that is the overview of our project results. And the details will be explained in the following slides. First, in total, there were 24 participants, including 14 male and 10 female ones from 8 agricultural cooperatives in our workshop. Among those, there were 12 participants from GPAC and PERAC, including 8 male and 4 male ones. Next slide, please. At the end of our workshops, participants were able to come up with 6 business plans, and these business plans were created at the satisfactory level, covering 80% of the requirements, despite the limited time that they had. The idea of the business plans include the production and sales of nutritious soya coffee, the opening of the first bakery shop in Barangay, swine production, production of organic vegetable and youth, and production of vegetable chicharron and taro chips. Next slide, please. Apart from that, they also learned the concept and practiced with community mapping, which you can see from this line. And the next slide, the SWOT, which means strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats analysis. This helped the young farmers to gain a clear understanding of the current situation of their communities, and this can help them to initiate the ideas and solutions they want to integrate into their business plans. Next. After the workshop finished, we organized a linking and learning meeting to gain feedback from participants. The feedback was positive. For example, it helped them enhance knowledge and skill regarding social entrepreneurship to develop a business plan. The workshop is useful for agricultural cooperatives, and the team facilitated the workshop well. Next slide, please. In this slide, you can see our analysis from our post-workshop M&E survey, which shows the increased knowledge and skills of the participants from social entrepreneurship before and after the workshop. Next slide, please. And in this slide as well, you can also see that from our M&E survey, there is an increasing level of participants regarding the level of familiarity with concepts and the level of confidence in applying knowledge and skill to practice. The increased level comparing before and after workshop. Next slide, please. In addition to capacity building, we also transfer a startup fund of 17,000 pesos to GPAC to support the business plan development post-workshops. Another significant thing to emphasize is that our project indirectly bring about the opportunity for our partner to have access to external funds like FFF, AFA, with a secured amount of $3,000 US. Last output, a knowledge management packet will be transferred to Pakisama for future capacity building scaling up purpose. Next slide, please. For the project delivery, it was conducted online because of the situation of the global pandemic. We used online application, including Zoom, Google Document, Google Slides, Google Jamboard to conduct our workshops. The advantage was that this mode make the workshop able to happen given the social distance measure and geographic distance and variant. However, there were also disadvantages and challenges, such as the lack of direct interaction or internet disruption. Another challenge was the shyness of the young farmer. If the workshop could have been conducted physically, there would have been possibly a closer relationship between organizer and participants, and this shyness might have disappeared. And now my group mate Toshiki will share about our learning out of this project.
So as for the first learning, project's results supports the claim that the social entrepreneurship has a potential to contribute to the expansion of opportunity space of young farmers. The experience of the business proposal writing suggests that the young farmers have capabilities to consult the available resources and ideas from their daily experience and assemble them into the plans. So the value creation through the social entrepreneurship can bring new opportunity for the young farmers. And given such lesson, providing support to the young farmers in social entrepreneurship can strengthen the potential of the new opportunity. And this support can be provided either in the form of hard assistance or soft assistance. And while the social entrepreneurship tend to prioritize the value creation to value capture, as Lance explained earlier, we noticed that maintaining that the good balance is essential. And the minimum value capture serves as a necessary condition for the sustainable value creation. And this point was emphasized by our resource person from Pakisama, whom we consulted the workshop modules, and this point was also understood by the participants. Next slide, please. And the second lesson that we have is that the opportunity space is heavily contextualized and personalized. So as Lance explained, opportunity space is defined by both spatial factors, which includes availability of natural resources and geographical factors, and as well as the social and relational factors, which are the personal and social attributes such as gender, age, status, social relations, and organizational affiliations. And it seems that each factor have either restrictive or expansive roles in defining the opportunity space. And our participants brought up different factors that dictate their engagement with agriculture. And for example, being a student, we limit their working time in agriculture, and the far access to the market limits their economic opportunity. But for example, other example is that strong support from the senior member within the cooperative may open a new opportunity for the young farmers. So this gives us a lesson that when promoting the social entrepreneurship, we must consider not only the creation of the new opportunity itself, but we also need to consider about how effectively we utilize as newly established opportunity, which is influenced by the existing factors that play both contributive and limiting roles. So the expansion of the opportunity space will depend on the contextualized and personalized nature of the opportunity space. And this guides us to the conclusion that the social entrepreneurship needs to adapt to the local context. Now back to your note.
Thank you, Toshiki. Next slide, Lance. In conclusion, our capstone project shows that social entrepreneurship is a potential way to facilitate the opportunity expansion of young farmers, provided that it gives young farmers benefits from a sustainable business model apart from social wealth. In order to achieve that, support needs to be provided to young farmers, including capacity building, finance, and resources. Our project was designed and implemented following the co-production and co-creation, leading to co-benefit, in which a capacity building program that suits the need of the young farmers from agricultural cooperatives was generated. So that is the end of our group's presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Camarines Sur team. And now let's go to team Cambodia.
Okay. Shohei, can you share the screen? Thank you.
Can you see now?
Yes.
So,
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, all, and good afternoon, magandang hapon. Thank you for presenting our presentation. So today we would like to present our Capstone project in Cambodia. So it's evaluation of impacts and challenge of women economic empowerment project. So next slide, please. Firstly, let me brief review our Capstone project. Our local partner is the Cambodian Women Crisis Center, and they implement Women Economic Empowerment Project. It's the 3 districts of Kampong Tom province in Cambodia. And our project are first improve the Women Economic Empowerment Project through evaluate the project and CWCC's capacity to conduct it. And then doing feedback activity for CWCC staff based on the finding of the evaluation to improve their capacity. Another object is to promote the WEP. Currently, the WEP has the challenges in its sustainability, even though there are necessity and the voices to continue from the local people. So that we decided to do documentation of the experience of WEP and also learning from our Capstone project in a photo book. Next slide, please. And in the evaluation process, we implemented focus group discussion and also individual interview with CWCC staffs. We involve not only female members, but also male members, leaders, and the vulnerable groups such as ethnic minority and local authority who related to the WEP. Next slide, please. So now let me explain about the analysis and findings through these activities. Next slide, please. And to measure the WEP and the CWCC capacity, firstly, we set the conceptual framework, which are first, women empowerment, and second, microfinance project as a tool to empower women. Also, we add the view from community development and impacts of COVID-19. From the literature review, we understand that women's empowerment is a capacity to make a choice. And also it is important to create the condition expanding the choices for the women's life. Many people believe that the microfinance project is understood as a tool to promote the power redistribution, which can make to the condition to expanding the women's choice in the community. However, the next slide, please. So, however, microfinance does not directly or automatically lead to women's empowerment and gender transformation, especially when community does not have the condition to accept empowering women for gender equality. It may even cause negative impacts on women. So from this perspective, the participation of the whole community is important to empower women. For example, it is suggested that understanding the target community from various perspectives and also educational process is helpful to understand the community and increase awareness of women's empowerment between the people in the community. To encourage these points, it would be also beneficial to adopt the view that empowering women is a cross-cutting element of community development. In this position, women should be seen as an active actor that can contribute to the community, not like weak people or vulnerable. And also it can increase resilience and decrease the vulnerability in the community. For example, it is many reported that women's group, including the saving groups, help the community using their network and saving during the crisis, such as the pandemic. So next slide, please. From these viewpoints, we analyze the outcome from focus group discussion and the interview. Then we found that improve economic security through develop their business can increase the choices for women. However, it is not only the elements that encourage the women's decision making. Actually, many of women feel the social networks through the saving group help them a lot. For example, encouragement from other members, like friends, motivate women to continue their business. Also, when they receive the violence from partner, many of women could ask help as a female member in the saving group. In addition, it is important to highlight that many of them improve the ability to express their opinion to non-family member through the social skill. In fact, almost all participants expressed the positive impact of the WEP, and behind that, we found the strong relationship and trust between CWCC and the community, that include male member and local authority. We understand this point contribute to the successful impact of the WEP. However, on the other hand, we also found some rooms for improvement. For example, it is observed that different understanding about the objective of WEP and different motivation to join the project, especially between women and men. While most of men actually understand the WEP's objective is to increase their income to achieve their own goal, like to buy something they want as well. And on the other hand, the more women actually understand the WEP objective is to empower women. It's same as the WEP original objective. And currently, these different attitude between saving group members cause some trouble in the saving group and reduce trust each other. Regarding the COVID impact, CWCC has been putting huge effort to deal with the crisis, and they success to keep connection with local community by adapting the technology. However, there are still some communities that have challenged to use technology due to poor infrastructure. And also, although some saving group function very well to share necessary information to deal with the COVID crisis, the positive aspect of the saving group in the COVID crisis is not recognized and examined enough by the CWCC. So this is our summary of the analysis. And now I would like to pass Shohei, and he can share our outputs.
Yeah, I'm Shohei, currently from Japan, and I'm gonna explain outputs mainly focused on the feedback activity and the feedback we created. The first feedback activity, we conducted it with the 6 members of CWCC, and its contents is followed, like the isolating activity, like making value, and the peace-talking circle. These are conducted to make a peaceful atmosphere to let all the participants talk in a peaceful mood. And the third, from here, these are the main activities, and we deliver positive feedback on the basis of FGD and individual interview. And then we delivered the room for improvement for the future project. And then we co-created mandala charts together. As a positive feedback, these are the data we extracted from the FGD and the individual interview. We asked kind of the same question: what was empowered by WEP? What do you think of this? And the CWCC and local authorities, these are the conducting organizations, and the members of the targeted groups answered the same answers, like at the center area, like practical knowledge and the skills, how to save money, how to run business, how to raise livestock, something like this. But the answers from the members of the targeted groups are diverse more broadly, and almost these answers depending on the mental parts, like the courage, cloud, matureness, connectivity. So it means as aimed, WEP is succeeded in empowering the knowledge and the skills, but at the same time, simultaneously, this project succeeded in empowering the mental part of the members from the targeted groups. Then we delivered the 5 main room for improvement. These are extracted also from the interview and the FGD. The first, measure against the challenging situation caused by the pandemic of COVID-19. Then increase opportunities to exchange ideas between the members. Then strengthen relationship between the members. Then promote the WEP. then increase sustainability of the impact of WEP. And after delivering the Loom for improvement, we calculated our mandala chart. Yeah. Maybe this is a little bit difficult to see now because of the small letters, but yeah, through the peace talking circle and through the peaceful discussion, we try to course think of the kind of the solutions and actions for each Loom for improvement. And these are just an example of the actions for the first one, measure against the challenging situation caused by the pandemic of COVID-19. We course think of the introducing the ICT and using the online activity. And if the ICT is a little bit difficult to deliver each point, we just introduce one PC for one community. And of course, capacity building regarding digital literacy is necessary. And finally, digital platform, which can be accessed to any device, like there, each phone is necessary or something like this. Yeah. For each Loom for improvement work, we core think of the solutions and actions through the mandala chart. Then finally, we are co-creating a photo deck. Yeah, and we hired a photographer in Cambodia and could take a picture of the situation of the WEP. And we select data with the CWCC and we collected a lot of success story brought by the WEP. And these are aimed to gain more publicity of the CWCC. And we believe this photo deck can contribute in gaining more participants in a more large area. Then I'm going to pass it to Moni.
Thank you, Shohei. Yes, can you move to the next slide, please? According to Mayuna and Shohei mentions, in terms of the analysis part and the output activity and developing the photo book, so we can see the development based on they can be like project can be empowered to the participant through both career development and self-independence, especially to women. At the same time, the project has been identified, especially the recommendation in 4 dimensions. The first is about the capacity strengthening to the member, which we can consider as the core benefit. And the second one is about technical supporting to the serving group in the project, which is considered as a co-productions. And the third one is capacity, staff capacity development, which is considered as a co-creation. And the final one is about like creations, the sustainability of the project, which is, we already know how to make a project sustainable. Next slide, please. Yes, just according to the capacity strengthening to the member, we can identify many many things that should be improved in terms of the serving group, especially for the member, especially on the enhancing of the foundation of the using ICTs to the member, according to the lesson learned that we provide. We study on the FGD and also the interview, and also increasing the opportunity for exchange the program amongst the member, which is the most important part that women and especially all the member would like to learn, not just only in the community, but they would like to learn from other community as well. And also expand the knowledge in terms of serving group on the leaderships, management, facilitation, dispute resolutions, and the strengthening relationship between a member, because this is the most important part that the members have to be understand in the among their group, in terms of the relationship and also the leadership and also the how to communication among the member. And last but not least, they supposed to be conduct the refresher training after they learn from the project as well. Next slide, please. In terms of the technical support to the saving group, we can identify like project has been already achievements, especially to support to the community itself. But at that part, the project supposed to be developed in terms of the manual trainings and also the documentation, which is the most important part for the future implementations, and also provide the reinforcement or a responsive mechanism of gender-based violence between the local authority and saving group, especially in terms of the shift the blame and victimization, where we can see the platform of the saving group can be provide not just only benefit in terms of economic empowerment, but just only the platform where women can share the experience in terms of domestic violence or other violence among the members. So this one can be referred that women can find the local way to report when they experience in terms of gender-based violence in the community, and also promotes the women economic empowerment through produce a lot of documentation and the success stories beyond our photo books and like for instance like material for the communications to engage more members to join the saving groups, and continue to engaging men into the saving group, into the community, to ensure not just only benefit about the economics itself, but also like improving in terms of improve and also reducing the domestic violence in that community. Next slide, please. For the staff capacity development, we can found like two things that the staff supposed to be understand broadly in terms of the definition of women empowerment and also advancing gender equality, especially because we can see that the project work not just only women and men. They work with diversity people, including ethnic minority and also people with disabilities. So hopefully that the staff can understand not just only one dimension about very foundation about gender identity, but diversity, and also they can use the lens to be engaging more people with equal opportunity in that project. And finally, staff can understand about the strengthening of the project management itself. Yes, for the next slide, please. For the final evaluation, we can see that the development is develop the policy in terms of the regulation, internal rule, guideline for the saving group is the most important, because this is where the project, where the saving group can be implementation and follow the rule and guideline in terms of the sustainability of the project and also the sustainability of the saving group itself, and also reinforcement of the implementation of the saving group policy, which it should be improved in that project as well, and provide the advancing of technology, especially in terms of managing cash flow for the leader in the saving group. Finally, it is reinforcements about peace talking circle, as Shohei mentioned in the previous one, and also provide the knowledge in terms of the dispute resolution among the cluster-based federation, which is considered as the leader in the saving group as well. So for the next slide, please. In the conclusion, we can see as two dimensions that we would like to see that project has been get effectiveness and also have improvement in terms of project. One is about women economics empowerment, especially women empowerment, as Mayuna presentation about the series, and also the community-based development, which is, we can see that community development has recovered that is awareness rising training and also seminar and the successful of solving the community development, that is the quality of the life of the target beneficiary. So that community development based on the education and also the participatory way that the community can engage. But in terms of community development itself, we have to look insightful in terms of the women empowerment, as the theme already presentation of, especially in terms of the financial sustainable for the women, and the choice of women to be not just only vulnerable, but to be the self-independent in that economic empowerment itself. So as we mentioned, that women empowerment is a full engagement aspect of society, equal opportunity, including participation, decision, and access power, and essential to achieve equality, development, and peace. So for the next slide, please. Next slide, please, show her. Yes. Next slide. Yeah, and this is a scope or limitation of our projects. So we have selecting participations of the for the group discussion and semi-structured interview is a very minimum participation, and we conduct the visuals like a visual organizing of the project evaluation. And it would be better for the further study, especially the impact of the COVID in terms of project implementations. Yes, next slide, yes. Next slide, sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayuna, Monivan, and Shohei. And Shohei is stricter than our timekeeper, our in-house timekeeper. So from Cambodia, let's now shift to Thailand. No? So we have the team of Kong Tanu.
Hi, okay. Sadi Club, Magandang Alao, Professor Amigos, and guest, and our community partner, Pidon. Thank you for coming here today, especially Pidon, Copen Cup. Thank you for your support while you are busy. Food security and youth leadership FSYLC project named Inspiring the Next Continent. We are Linda, Nawit, Sheena, Kiyomi, and myself, Wataru, with the sub-select administrative organization SAO of Kontano Municipality, supervised by Dr. Saloma. Now start. So this is our presentation flow. There are roughly 9 contents. The next slide, please. Now, let me take you to Kontanun, the sub-district administrative organization, SAO of Kontanun Municipality in the Lopburi province of central Thailand, has been implementing methods of sustainable agriculture intensification as a mechanism to ensure localized food security. Lopburi is a significant province historically, where many historical structures, artifacts, and prehistoric settlements have been discovered. Next slide, please. Recently, it was recognized by the Thai National Ministry as a model municipality for local food security. For this Capstone project, there is also a connection between the community and one of team member Nawit. We partnered with the Environment and Sustainability Department of SAO of Kontanun. Next, Sheena presents the issues.
Thank you, Wata. So before we delve in our capstone project, let me take you to the bigger problem of food insecurity in Thailand. And probably most of us love Thai food. And as you can see here in the video clip on the slide, you see Thailand is considered as a food surplus country at the macro level. But despite this food surplus and a good economic development record, the country still has considerable food insecurity problems. And that is according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And they also reported that while the country can produce more than enough to actually support its population, vulnerable households do not have enough food to meet their energy and nutritional needs, particularly in the rural areas. And also the spread of the COVID-19 impacted the people of Thailand and their food security due to having less access and lack of money to obtain food for consumption. So from this macro problem, we conducted a series of community-led consultation and assessment with our partners using various participatory tools and instruments, such as the baseline assessment survey, the FGD, and the key informant interview. And we unpacked that although circular food production have been achieved in Kongtanu, surprisingly, the youth are malnourished. And this articulation stemmed from the children and youth's imbalanced eating habits in Kongtanu and the influence of the parents' diet. It was not only shared by the adults, but also the youth respondents that we've talked to. Another gap that we've identified is the lack of youth integration in community activities. And this is also one of the central themes in our project. So if I may mention one noteworthy finding from the survey with the youth is that although there is widespread exposure to food security practices, experiences and opportunities for leadership seem to be lacking. And despite this, most respondents answered that youth involvement in the community is very, very relevant, thus forming the basis of the project, which aims to increase youth engagement in the community. And all the data collected from the aforementioned tools were analyzed and synthesized to inform the design, the content, and the orientation of the training and our modules. And I'll pass on to Kyo to explain our argument and theory of change.
Thank you, Sheena. To speak a little bit about our conceptual framework, in addition to Eleanor Ostrom's theory of co-production, a major component of our framework was food resilience. And this is derived from the concept of food systems resilience, which is defined by the capacity to provide food security over time, despite disturbances and shocks. And like Sheena mentioned, based on our needs assessment, we know that our community partner already have a robust and proven model that is resilient, and that was proven true during the COVID-19 pandemic, where they maintained their food security. But we also identified gaps in youth leadership, and also based on our conscious raising and leadership approach that we are borrowing from the Highlander Center of Education, we came to this following argument. So as you can see, youth integration and leadership will ensure the continuity and sustainability of their existing practices, and combine that with multi-stakeholder collaboration, which means bringing together various actors within the community with diverse skills, knowledge, and perspectives. And we believe that that will lead to dynamic development of their existing food security landscape. And as a result, this will enhance their food resilience. And thus we have our theory of change. By promoting youth leadership for multi-stakeholder collaboration, food resilience would be strengthened in Kongtanu. Now I'll pass it on to Wata to explain our actual interventions.
Yeah, thank you, Kyo. Our interventions. The three main activities were conducted to achieve the object of contributing to the development of food resilience in Kongtanu. There were food security and youth leadership capacity, FSYLC module prototype development, training, and collaborative action planning. The FSYLC training and the module was piloted through a 2-day event named Inspiring the Next Kongtanu, which took place between October 16 to 17th. It was administrated both online and hybrid, and guest speakers were invited. FSYLC module prototype development. We planned to co-create a series of modules. As a pilot module, Module 1 tackles the concept of food system, food availability, and food resilience by looking at the definitions and practices. And FSYLC workshop and training. The aim is to enhance youth knowledge in food resilience, as well as to encourage them to initiate and co-create food security related projects for the community. And lastly, multi-stakeholder collaborative MSC action planning. This intervention largely consists of the facilitation of action planning as a collaborative process, which aim to produce three main outputs. The 1, collaborative action plan of the SAO Contanon, 2, Contanon Youth Council 1-year plan, and 3, youth-led project planning, which is currently in the process of being followed up on by SAO administration. Next, Linda, present project outcome.
Okay, thank you, Wata. In terms of project outcomes, we would like to mention that one of the strongest points of our Capstone project is the multi-stakeholder collaboration aspect. So our local partners, the SAO and the school, are very collaborative, and they welcomed us and embraced our project from the beginning. They have been giving us support and co-produced this project with us to the best of their ability. So we can totally say that they are at the heart of our Capstone project, and without them, we couldn't achieve all of our project outcomes. So after the end of our Capstone, the local partner will still play the major role of the continuity of this project and also be responsible for some of the outputs of this project itself, such as the incorporation of training module in the school curriculums, the food resilience action plan for the community, as well as the plan to scale up the FSYLC module. In this presentation, we would like to also cover the challenging aspect of the project as well, or what we call what we envisioned versus what actually happened. So for youth participation during online training, we envisioned a lively participation from participants during the training. We were hopeful that if we engaged and involved them from the beginning during the FGD process and needs assessment phase, trying to find out what they want and decide the module according to their needs, then they would be more interested in learning more about food security and youth leadership. But what actually happened was silence, unfortunately. So most of the time, it was one-sided from the speakers, which, to be honest, we anticipated from the beginning that they might be shy to speak up. So that's why we created a module with a lot of activities that we hope would encourage them to participate. However, for group A, the Yangtu group, we didn't know what was going on at all because they turned off the camera and only a few participants did speak up. For group B, the older group, it was a little bit different as they were together in the same room. But because of the hybrid mode, there were also some technical difficulties that disrupted the flow of the discussion as well. So why the low participation? We think that part of the problem was the virtual mode that created distance between the speakers and the audience. So the learning environment was not conducive to encourage participation. However, we don't think that the virtual mode was the only problem. Because what we found out after the participants took the post-test was that there's only little difference to none at all between the pre-test and the post-test results. What we envisioned was that they should at least score 70% of the post-test to prove that their knowledge and awareness on food security has been enhanced. But what actually happened, as you can see, was only a few participants could score higher than 70% on the post-test. And those participants were the ones who already had higher scores in that pre-test. So why the low scores? Besides the obvious factor of the ineffectiveness of online training for young participants, we realized that the actual underlying problem that we observed throughout the course of the project was the lack of interest of the youth participants themselves. So can we still hope for the implementation of youth-led activities after the end of our Capstone project? As part of the project outcomes, we also envisioned was that there should be at least one youth-led project plan. And now we already have two as a result of the workshop that you can see in this video. But will these plans turn out to be actual projects in the future? So what we think might happen is that through the collaboration with SAO, the food resilience action plan that we are currently developing with them is going to include an action item that will support the ongoing activities of youth-led initiatives. So according to this plan, we are confident that these project plans will turn into actual projects in the future, which is also part of our sustainability plan that now Naveed will discuss in more details. Naveed.
Thank you, Linda. For the sustainability plan that we drafted with both SAO and Wat Bandap School, we divided it into two parts. First, the SAO plans to integrate our output of the community action plan into their 5-year local development plan. As part of this process, it needs the approval of the SAO Council, which includes the local actors from various sectors. If it passes, they will commit to implement the project as part of their 5-year community development plan. Moreover, the SAO has a BWOR or Bawon, which is in Thai. It is a mechanism for grassroots multi-stakeholder engagement. The Bawon includes SAO, residents, temples, and schools in the locality to collaboratively carry out the plan with a check and balance strategy. This mechanism will help ensure the sustainability of our project. And for the operationalization of the model, the secondary school director plans to incorporate it into school curriculum. It will be used to teach the student at least once every semester. And next, how do we plan to scale it up? I would like to present 4 plans that we developed with our partners. First, the SAO will engage more youth from the 14 villages in Kong Thanu. This will be done by pairing up youth with trained village health volunteers to provide knowledge and engage other youth across Kong Thanu to do this project. Second, in terms of the model, the SAO will propose and present the model officially to the provincial office of the local administration and also Lopburi Provincial Education Office and distribute to every other municipality and school in the province so that they can adopt the model. However, since the model incorporation is based on the approval of the higher authorities, it will undergo a lengthy process before the model can be fully operationalized across Lopburi province. And third, the Kong Thanu is a model for food security as determined by the Ministry of Interior, a national government office. For this reason, they receive various study visits from other SAOs and schools to share best practice in food security. In the future, youth-led initiatives will also be shared with visiting municipality and schools. And lastly, due to the strong partnership between SAO and administration and the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Interior, this will also act as a political pipeline that the model will be scaled up. To clarify, our intervention ends at the municipality action planning phase and will not be formally present during the operationalization phase, unless our partners seek our help. However, we have set up the necessary conditions through partnerships among strategic institutions and individuals in political power, and to ensure the continuity of the project. The sustainability plan of our project and our recommendations have been co-produced and validated by our partners. Therefore, we fully trust that they will act to sustain and scale up this project into the future. And next, Kiyomi will present key takeaway in the next session.
All right, so let's come back full circle to our theory of change again. So by promoting youth leadership and multi-stakeholder collaboration and food security, food resilience would be strengthened in Kong Thanu. So now we're looking at it with fresh eyes after our experience in co-production, and we were able to harvest some key learnings that will be useful when scaling up. Next slide. So first, we need to find creative strategies to stimulate engagement of youth in this era of virtual and hybrid learning. So there's immense challenges as we experienced in remote learning, especially in this COVID-19 era, so we need to be creative. Second, a dynamic mentorship of youth by existing leaders. And it's important through our experience. Actually, we're really lucky to have leaders on the ground who had a great vision for their community, who had initiative, and who had a willingness to guide the youth. So we see that as very key. Third, finally, we stress the importance of intergenerational collaboration. And we've recommended collaborative activities like skill sharing between the youth, the tech-savvy youth, and on the other hand, the knowledge bearers of traditional plant medicine of senior citizens, for example. So with combining these three major learnings, we hope that we can make a contribution to strengthen food resilience, not just for Gongtanu, but other rural communities like Gongtanu. And final slide. Yes, and our story ends here for now, but for the youth in this picture, it's just the beginning. So we would like to give the greatest and warmest thanks to our SAO partners, to our school directors, the youth, and last but not least, our wonderful Dr. Saloma for putting up with us today and throughout this process. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for the well-prepared presentations. They're very informative and again, fascinating. And now we move on to the interaction with our panelists. And to moderate us for the question and answer session, I invite back Dr. Alfred Pavlik.
Thank you very much, Melise. So is it on me to introduce the panelists, or can we go right away to
we can go right away, Alfred.
Yeah.
I'll just spotlight them.
Okay, thank you very much. So may I invite the panelists for their comments? Shall we ask Glenda first?
Okay, yeah, okay. So when I was asked to be a reviewer for the papers, I was tasked to help make your capstone paper into a manuscript for journal publication. So in relation to this, I was asked to do reviews on 3 specific areas. First, significance and articulation of the problem in your paper, and the comprehensiveness of the description of the methods that you use in your project. And lastly, the justification of interpretations and the conclusions that you put forth in your project paper. So my comments will be specifically focused on these 3 areas. Okay, so I will start with the project that was done in Camarines Sur about the young farmers in the local agri-food system in the Camarines Sur, Philippines. So generally, this is a well-written paper, but I have major comments on the discussion of findings. First, in your abstract, you mentioned these concepts, value capture and value creation. So I would suggest that you put in like a brief description of these major concepts that you use in your paper so as to reader what these concepts are all about. And also, you mentioned value capture and creation again in the introduction of your paper or somewhere at the initial part of your paper. Then there were no brief descriptions on these concepts again. So I would suggest that you briefly discuss these concepts first, because I can see that at the latter part of your paper that you did give a very comprehensive discussions of this concepts. But the first time they were not here, it would help the reader to be properly oriented what these terms are all about. So the significance and articulation of the problem in your paper. So in this area, so as I've said, for the purpose of the publishing your paper into a manuscript, research questions or objectives should be clearly articulated in your paper. So these are somewhere in your paper, the research questions, but these are not clearly pointed out. So for example, you stated that within the context of agro-cooperativism and entrepreneurship, the project was designed and implemented with the goals of enhancing the capacities of young farmers in local agri-cooperatives to manage social enterprises. But you have to point out, so what are the specific aims of your paper, the research questions that you're trying to address? So would you like to assess the implementation of the project? And if so, like this should be clearly articulated at the outset of your paper. Ideally, by the second page of your paper, the research questions should already have been properly laid out in your paper. So regarding the comprehensive description of the methods, so you said you have workshop participants from GPAC and PIRAC. So you can explain, so how were the participants selected in the workshop? And for the section on the interpretations and conclusions of your project results, so you have to describe clearly the method of data gathering. So you said you did workshops and then you did FGD. What is the order? Did you do the workshop first? And then you did the FGD? So this should be clearly articulated in your paper. And regarding the results of your pre and post workshops, more details are needed here, because you only indicated profiles of the participants as a result of your pre-workshop. But it would help to also know what are the questions that were asked in the pre and post workshops that you asked your participants, and what were the results of these questions that you posed to your participants pre and post workshops. And generally, you mentioned the participants' positive post feedback, but what were the questions that were asked and the specific answers that were given by the participants? So I suggest you can put tables in the discussion of findings to summarize the results of your pre and post workshops. And there was a big claim in your paper that the business proposals that were prepared by the workshop participants were at a satisfactory level of 80% of the required elements. But how was assessment made on the proposals? How was the satisfactory level attained? And what are the criteria for the assessment? So all this should be clearly articulated in your paper. There is also an appendix for monitoring and evaluation. The details that are found in the appendix were not explicitly referred to and discussed by the paper. So you need to put in discussions, because there are a lot of data in the appendix, but these were not clearly and sufficiently discussed in the paper. And lastly, for the heading of conclusion recommendations, I think these two sections, because you did like one section for conclusion, another, the last one is recommendations. I think these two can be combined. And there are long quotes in your paper that can be summarized, and you need to, the references also can be fixed in your paper. Yeah, so that's all for me.
Thank you so much, Glenda. Would the group like to respond?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, specifically, what are the aims of the paper? So this is the research questions that you wanted to address. Yeah, so yeah, so far that's it for, so generally, as I've said, it's a generally well-written paper. And the details that I've said about the elaboration of the findings and all that should be done by the students. But I'll give them a copy of my written comments for them to refer to. Yeah, so you have to clearly articulate the research questions that you wanted to address in your paper. So what are these research questions?
May I respond on behalf of the group?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, so much for those comments, because actually we've been struggling with transforming a project report to a journal article, which are two different, as you know, materials and outputs. So we take note of these. We appreciate if there are written comments, so we can
I have.
really address them point by point. These are really helpful. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Lance. May I ask now Marlene to comment on the first presentation, please?
Okay, thank you. For the group I think for me, it was a very good framing. Just looking at the theory of change, you have presented about 6 outputs resulting to 2 outcomes, and the impact area that you presented. I am asked to give some views or perspective on the relevance of the project, no? As an initiative that focuses on the benefit, the welfare, the participation of young farmers organization. So just looking at the theory of change, I would say that I'm happy that this initiative is taking place in Camarines Sur. What I would like to comment on is that it is important to note that the initiative revolves around the strengthening of or 2 local organizations, and I think that is key, because you can do capacity building or training, but if the host organization is not defined, if it's just one-day activity with this group of farmers, then we know that the issue of sustainability or continuity is a question. So a good starting point that you worked with Perak and the other group, Golden Parauma. Now, looking at the elements of, the interventions, the activities, I noted that, there's training on the social entrepreneurship, no? Because that's the focus. But again, putting value to the importance of the organization, it will be also good if there had been some investment on the organizational development itself, because from experience, no amount of, many of the businesses succeed or enterprises succeed if the organizations are strong or stable. Sometimes the moment that the initial business earns something, then the leaders would quarrel and maybe issues about accountability would surface. So, but what I noticed, so I would say that it would have been good if maybe there was investment on in terms of strengthening governance, strengthening accountability of these 2 relatively young farmers organizations. So again, I noted that it's important for them, while the groups are fortunate to be in an ecosystem where they are part of the National Farmers Federation, Pakisama, and that Pakisama is a member of the Asian Farmers Association that has provision program that supports young farmers. It will be important to also build their capacity for broader partnerships, like beyond these 2 natural groups that they are relating with. Of course, when they presented their business proposition, they had opportunity to deal with donors or prospective investors. But normally, if these are young organizations, the viability of their projects is important, but the sustainability of their work as an organization sometimes is also linked to their social capital. How easy they could mobilize support or complementary financing from other groups, and because the reality is it will take maybe about 5 to 10 years before their businesses really become stable. So other than, of course, building capacity for business planning, for whatever and especially the group is small, no, like 85 members. So, and we know the reality is that you need scale. So while they are still young, it's important also that they invest in broadening their relationship with other stakeholders. I noted that there's, I'm not sure if I read it, if there were that they also interact with local authorities. Of course, being part of Pakisama and AFA, whom we know have strong advocacy functions, but it is important for the groups that you supported to also be able to link with local authorities that or local players. And this is where I would also mention that I think there was reference to the importance of the context of where these groups are. And nowadays, the territorial approach, as they say, or the localization approach is important in also looking into the viability of businesses, and in your case, that initiative of these two farmers groups. And so Camarines Sur maybe is as a territory is relatively big as a province, but maybe within their municipality or cluster of villages, it might be also useful to see no? How your efforts to strengthen capacities of young people on social enterprises looks at the potentials of expanding, because in the end, businesses would need scale. So I think it's something that I missed in my reading, but I can review. There's mention about the young people. I think there's a particular point on them also strengthening their capacity to use information communication technology. And I think that's an important area to support, especially that among other age grouping, it is the young people who would be more open to digital innovations and maybe take risk on something that they're not too familiar with. So so I think these are just the points that I wanted to comment on your project, and then I go back to my earlier point. As I was reading it, for me it was clear, just looking at the theory of change, the process was taken care of, as you espouse on this co-production, co-creation, co-ownership. So these are, I think, given processes if you wanted to ensure sustainability of the project beyond the Capstone project. And I think the importance of connecting with other stakeholders is also linked to the limitation that you mentioned, that there is not enough resources to continue the implementation of the identified actions. So it might be good maybe at the start as you design it to include, and I think there was presentation with potential investors, but well, that even more brings you to that importance of supporting their capacity to link with other possible supporters or stakeholders in the community, and also even at the national level. So I think I'll end here, and I'd like to hear the views of the group, and I'll write I'll send my written comments later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlene. Would the presenters like to respond?
I guess I'll begin responding. Thank you, Ms. Marl, for your comments. On the first point, on the organizational development part or the co-op governance, actually, that was one of the key issues that were identified when we did the needs assessment and developed the problem tree with the young farmers. In fact, they were really concerned about how the cooperative was being governed with internal systems not really as functioning as they had wanted. So that was a key problem. But at the same time, we were working with certain limitations, which are financial limitations of the project as well as time constraints. And what we did with them was, okay, given one co-op governance, others are limited capacities of youth in social entrepreneurship, a host of problems. What can we do in this period and um, with this financing available to us? That's also strategic and could address potentially other aspects, including the governance aspect. And we did decide with them that okay, let's focus on social entrepreneurship, because then based on their needs, they said we're not given an opportunity to at least start our own business, and it's something we want to try, and it's something that maybe young people can work on, as a group and as a committee, young farmers committee within the cooperative. It was something they were interested in, and at the same time we also saw it as strategic in the context of the needs assessment we did. So that's why we decided that way. But for sure, our group agrees with you that yes, co-op governance is one of the key issues with many cooperatives, not only these ones, but many places. And secondly, with regard to sustainability, I think our team decided also to, because this project team dissolves after the academic year. So what we did was really to align our project with the program strategies of the organizations involved. So with the two local co-ops, with Pakisama, we made sure that, okay, these outcomes are aligned with the program goals of these organizations. So then it feeds into a longer term strategy. And with Pakisama, in the context of also the co-ops, they're beginning to develop the young farmers program locally with the co-ops and also nationally. So we saw how, for example, the materials that we developed in relation to this project could be a basis or a reference for sustaining the program on the level of a program, both locally and nationally. With the local materials, we did produce business plans. So that's one thing we also turned over to them, and that will for sure feed into their own deliberation within the cooperative how they could support this. At least with GPAC, we could say that GPAC had the chairperson of GPAC had written a commitment letter, because we did provide a very small financing of 17,000 pesos to as a startup capital. So with them, the cooperative committed to use the fund at least to support the business plan developed by the young farmers. So that was the kind of the sustainability part we were looking into locally. But overall, our strategy was just to align with these strategies given the limitations we had with this project. So, thank you. I don't know if my group mates would like to.
Thank you, Han.
Share.
Thank you, Lance.
Okay, that's not the case. Thank you, Lance. Marlene, would you like to continue with your comments for the second group?
Okay, the second group is the women, the women empowerment. Again, just like the first group, thank you for your excellent presentation. It's very inspiring. And actually, there's only a very few that I would like to explore with the group, because and maybe it's I need to understand better the organizational or the implementation arrangement of the project. But I understand that WEP is a project, and CWCC is the implementing partner or NGO. And so the what was maybe my question is, because there was a reference that the women groups did recognize the importance of continuing space or venue for them to interact, to get support from each other, to learn from each other. And I wonder if there is clarity on the trajectory of how these women groups will be organized. There was this reference to a federation of clusters, but I ask because I think it is key to the sustainability of the project and the initiative of CWCC if at some point there is this clarity that the women's groups will indeed be organized, that beyond web as a project, because there will be more opportunities for them, even if web as a project is finished. So that is one question that I have. And I also ask this because there was mentioned that, yes, when we talk about women empowerment, being involved in microfinance or savings groups, or being able to access to financing is important. That's will redound to some empowerment, but it is beyond that. That being empowered means being in an ecosystem where they can make decisions, they can make choices, that they can be supported, be in solidarity with other women and with the community. So I think that is one clarification that I would like to raise as a start.
Thank you very much. Would the group like to respond?
Maybe I can respond, and then I think the team can be respond after that. Regarding to the sustainability of the projects, you already asked about like the saving group, especially women, is where when the project is existing, women is still can be involved in that group as well, because this is where we implementation the project in the Capstone project for evaluation and the room for improvement, especially to the project partner Cambodian Women Crisis Center, we call CWCCs, and where we can see that they supposed to be develop instead like the policy and regulation to support the community, to support the saving groups. And also we can see that women group itself, like how they can be formed up, because this is where we can be provide a recommendation that they can continue to develop like the material to engaging more community member to join the saving group, and this is like the group where they form up one prototype in one community, and then after that they continue to inspiring to another community by that prototype of the saving group. And also they have like the cluster-based federation based on the each districts level to modify and also verify about documentation of the saving group, and also the procedure how to get the loan from the saving group. But at the same time, also like so the dispute resolution among the group as well. And the cluster based federation is has been continued to be empowered by the staff, the project staff of the CWCC to ensure that the project sustain itself. But this is the one that when we do the project evaluation, we can see that to ensure that the saving group sustain, maybe the project itself to be continue to develop more about the policy and also continue to develop reinforcement in terms of the policy in the community itself. And also last one, you mentioned about the empowerment beyond the financial finance, also like economic independence. Yes, we already mentioned in the paper, I think, in terms of this one. And then I think Mayuna can be like about that. Yes.
Okay, so actually, yeah, maybe I can add a little bit about the saving group formation, because actually group is already very structured. They are like a local level of saving group, which like are made by the same district member, like same village member. And after that, they also have the 24 committee, which supervise the committee, I don't know, the saving group. And also there are the federation. It's also like can supervise the committee. And also local authority like support, especially the committee and federation to like improve the structure. But the improvement about the women group, we talk about more saving group itself, because there are many like a group member and diverse as well. Like for example, like they include the male member and also some like a vulnerable group, like ethnic minority. And normally the female member and also ethnic minority group, it's difficult to express their opinion, like between the saving group. This is actually the current issue. But like we saw the opinion as a saving group. So that's why like we talk about we need to like increase their voice a little bit, like through the activity or some like support. And because this is maybe the lead to the sustainable system as well. And like we also got the actually the good news, because the donor organization like decided to continue the support financially the CWCC. So CWCC a little bit more can support the saving group system. So that's why like we can like already talk about we can like increase the capacity of the saving group, but saving group meaning is in the community.
Thank you for that explanation. I think I was just and I'm very happy to hear the way you describe the savings group and how they are currently structured. I was asking because some of us, for instance, would have a perspective that at some point NGO partners would have different roles to play. And I wonder when the savings groups can stand on their own. It is a good thing that there is grant support to continue the funding of the NGOs supporting the savings group. And as you said, it is good because so that they can expand into more areas. But the question maybe to ask is, if there are no more grant support to the NGO, will the existing 24 savings group be able to continue their microfinance or savings and credit programs? And I think it is along that it will be important to assess. No? It is possible that financing to capitalize projects or enterprises is not a problem, but I did read that there's also training on business plans and preparation. So that's very clear. And I think that is very important because many of, well, the issue is not the availability of funds. That in the Philippines, that is the case now. Many of the cooperatives that we know or NGO manage financing facilities. They have a lot of funds, but there is very little, few projects that they could get that are viable. And therefore, areas for intervention is really in building or capacitating small entrepreneurs, women's group to come up with good businesses or projects. And it is good that I think in the presentation, that is one of the activities of WEP. And that should be, it's an important area of work.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, I would like to respond to your questions. And then when we conduct the group discussions, the participant also concerned about the limitation of the saving group as well. They recognize that this is, they are afraid like when the existing funds and the group gonna be continue sustain. This is a concern from the participation through the group discussion itself about this one. But to ensure about this one, we also recommendation and also the providing, like, how can I say, like that the reason we produce like the photo book, and also like provide a recommendation to ensure that CWCC can sustain or seeking fund to support to ensure that the saving group can be continue to roll out their activity in that communities. Because like a 3-year implementation, I think it's not sustained enough from my perspective, because it takes time for the community development and also for the capacity development in that community, especially for the saving group as well. Because but we can see the achievement in terms of the project implementation, because people beyond they just to be, especially for women, they begin to be like non-active to be active women in the community. But in terms of the role of leadership, it needs to be continued to be empowered, not just only the technical, not just only the capacity in terms of the knowledge, but also the technical support. That the reason we provide the recommendation about continue to provide the technical support to the saving group, because we found out that this is very important, that the group can be sustained and also can be more roll on in their activity, not just only the capacity building or capacity development to the saving group, but also provide the technical support. And yes, like I mentioned about 3 years project implementation, that was not enough to ensure that this is a success, but we can see the achievements in terms of this one. Yeah.
Thank you. Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marlene. Thanks for the responses. Maybe now hear the comments of Glenda for the second group.
Yeah, so for this, my comments will again revolve around how to make your paper into a manuscript for submission for a journal publication. So just like Marlene, my general comment in the introduction is that I wanted to see more context for the study and the NGO projects. So what are the specific projects of the savings group? Can you get a report from the NGO? So I think this is something that is missing in the introduction of your paper, more context and discussions about the NGO. Okay, so with regards to the articulation of the problem, so your project, you stated that you aim to address 3 questions. So first of which is, how did the WEP contribute to empower women in the communities? And then for the second one, how was CWCC's capacity to implement WEP? And for the third question, you put forth what are the key points to improve WEP for better community development. Now, I have a certain concern about question number 2. For me, question number 2 is vaguely formulated. So I can see that we're trying to evaluate CWCC's implementation of the WEP, of the WEP for question 1. So I suggest that you combine questions number 1 and 2 and reformulate these 2 questions as how was CWCC's implementation of WEP contributed to women's empowerment in the communities. So 1 and 2 can be combined from what I think about it. And because this is also related to my comments on the analysis of findings, which I will articulate later, that the question number 2 was not sufficiently addressed in your paper. So that's why I suggest doing away with it and just combine what you wanted to address there with question number 1. So as to the description of the methods and analysis in your paper, so you mentioned the photo book as a methodology that you use in your research, but you need to put more description about this methodology. So I didn't see this in your paper. So why did you use this methodology, photo book methodology, and how did you use this exactly in your project? So I think this need more elaboration in your paper, and where to locate the results of the photo book in your paper. So this was not very clear to me. And you did interviews and FGD for your project, but how did you do your data analysis? Did you transcribe verbatim the results of the interviews and FGDs? If so, you have to state this in your paper. And after analysis of the verbatim transcription, so how did you formulate the codes and the themes for your findings that you discuss in your findings? So how did you do validity checks for your data coding? So who did the initial coding among the group, and how was the coding counter checked by the other group members? Okay, so with regard to the justification of interpretations and conclusions for your project, on the findings about the KEP survey, so it was not very clear. Is this from the FGD? So make the headings consistent with the headings of your methods, because in methodology, you put in there certain headings for the methods that you use. And I suggest that you make this consistent. Like when you're discussing your findings, you also make the order of the discussion of the findings in the order of how you presented your methodologies. And for claims that are stated in the findings, there should be evidence to support them. You can put direct quotes from the respondents as evidence for the claims that you made in your findings. For example, for the claims, some participants feel more valued in learning of the project's concept, saving for change, which means that saving money can increase decision-making for a better life. So this is your claim, this is your conclusion. And another example is that the participation experiences of the trainings increase self-confidence and self-efficiency, as well as the knowledge and skills of the participants. But where are your evidence for these claims and conclusions? So as I suggest, as evidence for these claims or conclusions that you made, you can put in direct quotes from your research participants. Okay, on the section on the findings from IIA, well, you presented circles, so the figures are very good because they show the convergence of the opinions of the different groups. However, the quotations in these sections are floating. So you put in the figures and then you put in quotations, but these sub-quotations are missing their context. So they're just floating there in the section. So I would suggest you discuss the findings and then put in the quotations as evidence for the findings that you are claiming for your paper in this particular section. And you need to put more discussion, elaboration on the feedback activity. For example, explain why there are squares for action 6 and 7, but there are no details in them. So in contrast to the actions 1 to 5 that you put in there are details in the squares, but for actions 6 and 7, there are no details in them. So why is this so? Also, there should be more explanation of the action points that you put in there. For example, what is the peace talking circle? So you have to put in more explanation in here. Okay, for the section on knowledge contribution, it was not very clear how are these derived from the findings. As it is, it looks like this recommendation can also come from other research. So you need to make clearer how are these connected to your findings. For example, your recommendation on you need to expand women's social network, encourage knowledge and experience sharing, improve social skills. But how are these recommendations derived from your findings? So you need to make the connection between these recommendations and how are these derived from the findings of your research. So you can briefly discuss the findings and then mention the recommendations to clearly show the connection between this or among these. And your conclusion, yeah, I think this can be improved. Maybe you were rushing, so I think you still have you still want to improve this yourselves, because it was very short, just like one paragraph and very short. So as a suggestion for your conclusion, you can restate here your research questions or objectives and discuss your answers to these research questions. And you can summarize your main arguments in your paper and show how these address your research questions. And also, you have to maintain a formal tone as you do throughout the paper, and then not suddenly shift into personal anecdote, because what is in your conclusion right now is this: you suddenly shifted to a personal tone, anecdotal tone, but all throughout your part of your paper, you're writing using a very formal like register, so you have to maintain this throughout the paper. Okay, so others, so your overall claim in your paper is that there is a positive impact of the NGO program, but I think this needs to be supported by clear evidence in your paper, by describing in detail your methods, which I already mentioned earlier, my suggestions, findings, and also interpretations of your findings. Okay, yeah, so that's about. Congratulations! Like I can see, like you put in a lot of work in your paper.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
so
you so
do I need to
much.
ask them questions? Yes, I'll share this with you, my written comment. Yeah. So yeah, the photo book is a methodology, because I can see in your presentation that you mentioned this, but in your paper, yeah. So this was missing in your paper.
Yeah. So we also a bit struggle to make the structure, like how we can be difference between the a research report and also the academic paper as well. But now I got the many ideas, so we can definitely harmonize. Yeah, can improve. So thank you so much for your advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Time check, it's 3:53, so we have we can do maybe 5 minutes more. So let's continue with the comments for the third group. Glenda, you would like to continue?
Okay. Yeah, so this is about the food security and youth leadership in Taiwan. So yeah, so the same order, just what I did with the two earlier papers. Okay, so in the abstract, you mentioned in your abstract that preliminary assessments revealed that many youth. So I would suggest to reformulate the sentence, revise this to make it clear that you're referring to your youth project participants and not referring to the general youth. And regarding your project outcomes, you also mentioned in your abstract, like moreover, the project outcomes contribute to knowledge of multi-stakeholder partnerships by demonstrating its potential to promote holistic, far-reaching, and therefore resilient community development. So how did you do this in your paper? So what are your evidence for this? Was this shown in your post-workshop assessment of your participants? Because I read in your paper that the post-workshop was not so different from the pre-workshop. So I was just wondering, where did you get this conclusion for this claim in your paper that it is contributed to knowledge multi-sector partnership and the development of knowledge outcomes? So significance and articulation of the problem. So just like the earlier papers, so for the purpose of the article manuscript, you have to state clearly the questions that you want to address in your paper. So put this introduction to clearly guide the reader what to expect from your paper. And then findings should be presented in a way that addresses the research questions in order that you pose research questions, and then in the discussion of findings, the discussion of findings should be presented in such a way that these are addressing the research questions one by one. So description of the methods. So I think you need to put in more explanation of the framework. So you have to explain the concepts in the framework and the relationship to each other, because there are a lot of concepts in your framework. But what I saw in your paper is that they just presented the framework, but it would be better, I think, if there was more explanations about the relationships of the concepts in in the framework. So on the problem and objective 3 that you put in your paper, so you said that through a workshop with official representatives of SAO, administration, a secondary school, and the youth council, you were able to identify a problem issue as expressed by partners. So I would like to ask, like, from these representatives, like just the details, like, you know, how many were represented from these organizations, and what are the specific questions that you asked in the workshop to explain how the process on how the items how the items of the problem and objective 3 were arrived at. Because in your problem and objective 3, you put in there a lot of items, but I just wanted to see how did you derive these problems, these concepts that you put in your problem and objective 3. On page 14, you mentioned that the chart below is the output of the objective analysis exercise, but I didn't see the chart. So you have to put in the chart there. On page 15, baseline assessments, you said you used rapid survey, focus group discussions, and key informant interviews. So I was just wondering why rapid survey? So, I mean, what's the difference between a regular survey and a rapid survey? So I suggest maybe you can do away with that term rapid and just say survey. And in the survey, you can put in examples of the questions that you asked in the survey. So justification of interpretations and conclusions of the project results. On page 16, findings from baseline assessment. So you mentioned here the Ko-Nong model scored the lowest average as opposed to Ban, Ni, Rak scoring the highest. But what are these models? So you just mentioned these models, but I would like to see a background on these models, like you didn't discuss at all what these models are all about. So you need to explain this. And on page 18, you mentioned based on the findings of baseline assessment, the participatory project design process and the theory of change elaborated above, the following theory of change emerged. Like if we conduct youth leadership training, food security, and promote multi-stakeholder collaboration, then we can strengthen food resiliency in the area. But what are these findings that you are referring to in which you derive you derive this theory of change? So briefly discuss here to support this claim for your baseline assessment. So where are the tables and the results for the other items? Why did you only put one table in there for your baseline assessment? So you have to put in there the results regarding the other items. So key outcomes, on the same page number, page 18, key outcomes, corresponding outputs and activities are identified as the theory of change. So see table 1, but there's no table 1. So you have to put in there table 1. So you also mentioned, so all you refer to an Annex 3 on FGD, but Annex 3 is also missing in the paper. So KAI interview question guide. So you can include this in your paper. The questions that you ask your participants is very important that you include this in your paper, this interview guide, so the readers would know the questions that you ask and how the results input into the paper's analysis. On page 22, you said in this regard, the selected guest speaker was proficient in digesting the complexity of food security concepts in a fun and engaging way. I think it would help to establish the authority of your guest speaker, maybe include the background on the guest speaker. And maybe you can put in there because you said there are problems in your training materials, like some definitions, some of the questions or some of the items, the training materials were not very clear to the workshop participants. So I would suggest that if you can put in your paper, what are the specific steps that you would like to do in order to strengthen the training materials that you drafted? Yeah, but basically it was a well-written paper. So congratulations on your project.
Thank you very much, Glenda. Would the group like to respond in brief, please?
Yeah, maybe my just the last question on like, because you also it was good like you pointed out the weaknesses of the training materials. Maybe if you would like to mention now like the steps that you're planning to take in order to strengthen your training materials, because you said you wanted to share this with the school, and then the school so that the school can continue the training and yeah, and all that.
Thank you, Miss Glenn. May I just respond with regards to the attachments of the manuscript? Since we understand that this is the initial draft, we are still in the process of making all the attachment annexes, figures, and tables in a very coherent way. That's why we didn't put it at first. But yes, we are currently working on it. But thank you for that. It's all noted.
To respond to Ma'am Glenda's question about how to strengthen our training module, we hope to consult more with the school director that we are directly working with, to educators, the translated Thai version, as well as consulting one of our instructors at University for Peace, who actually we attended a course in food security, and she has agreed to support us to a small extent. But yeah, so just seeking a little bit more consultation before we finalize the final draft of the module.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I turn over to Marlene for the comments?
Thank you. Well, I think the relevance of the project that was presented to us is a precursor to sustainability. So, and it's looking at food and nutrition security. You know, you have a lot of background justification and that is very important. Young people or rural youth as frontliners for agriculture and food systems transformation, food resiliency. And then secondly, this people-oriented process that I think cuts across the three reports of co-production, co-creation, co-ownership. Important as well that you have a very specific area of focus, and this connects to what I mentioned earlier, the importance of doing a territorial approach. And along this is the multi-stakeholder partnership agenda of the project, which came out quite strongly. You have your supportive LGU, the school, the youth council. So, and there was also reference to linking with policy making and influencing programs supportive of the project goals. And that's important as part of the sustainability track beyond this project, especially at the municipal level. And at the provincial level, though, with some challenges that you mentioned, but I think those are not insurmountable. What I find missing, though, is that in looking at your problem identification, there's no reference to how young farmers in the area will be engaged. Beyond the activities that were mentioned, there was reference that in fact 90% of the participants have at some point experienced being in the farm or doing gardening. So in your objective of that you strengthen leadership of youth to be food secure, does this include supporting young people interested in farming, or investing in education and training, allowing them access to productive resources, financing, and mentoring, coaching, and maybe learning visits to build horizon, to get solidarity. So when we talk about food security, usually you link it with farmers, and maybe in this particular instance you talk about young farmers. So I did not see it as a problem that there seems to be absence of strong farmers groups that this project is relating with, and it's a rallying call, no, for young farmers to be organized so that they could work together, they could strongly engage policymakers and to influence policies, but not only policies, but how these are translated into very concrete programs that they could benefit from. And maybe the last point is that there was no reference whether mothers or rural women were in fact involved or were part of the FGD, or if they were key informants, because if nutrition is an important agenda, we all know that your closest channel to having more healthier youth or children would be through the mothers. As they say, if mothers, rural women have extra income, it automatically, or most of the time, it goes to, it redounds to healthier food on the table. So it perhaps, I am not sure if they were part of the process, but it is important in the context that why is there undernutrition, or why are young people not eating healthy food? Is it because the rural women in the area are not having enough resources or access to productive resources that will allow them to feed their family? So I think those are some questions that I would like to raise, but otherwise it's a very good initiative that you have.
Thank you very much, Marlene. Would the presenters like to respond?
I think I'll just quickly throw in a response. Yeah, thank you for those comments. They're truly fantastic and hitting our weak points for sure. And just to respond quickly with the women's role, we actually did do a gender assessment through 2 key informant interviews that we did with households. And we also, during our problem identification problem tree exercise, we discussed the cause of the nutrition insecurity or imbalance of youth, and it has to do with the parents' role as well. So one thing that I'm a little bit confused about is we did all of these, a series of consultations, and as well as the survey had a whole set of findings, but because of the word limit and all of the other activities that we had to put in there, the main interventions, I actually didn't write up the entire and didn't put all the tables and the graphs that I had made. So perhaps we will focus maybe in on the gender stuff and create more of a focus and put a little bit more from the results of our preliminary assessments. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are now done with that part. So let me thank the panelists and all the presenters again. And I will invite back Melise Navarra.
Thank you, Alfred. And of course, everyone did well in the presentation. So congratulations to you and to your supervisors. And we are grateful to the immense inputs. They're very helpful inputs from our panelists. So it means that you still can't have the 8-hour luxury of sleep, just yet. So, but this is the final stretch. So this will come into full stop on the 10th, when everyone will submit the manuscript and the approval page. So again, thank you so much. And we all enjoyed this public presentation. This is the very first public presentation, and you all did well. So we're very proud of you, and see you soon. Okay.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.